What could possibly be better than winding down with a good video game after a long, stressful day, especially during the winter months when it's cold outside? Well, winding down with a good, cozy video game. There's something to be said about video games that can help you calm your nerves while at the same time stimulating your mind, creativity, and mental energy. I think all of us have at least a game or two that jumps to the front of the brain when someone mentions cozy games, and I'd like to tell you about some of my own and why I enjoy them so much. So sit back, relax, get cozy, but not too cozy. Hey, can someone tap him on the shoulder, please? While we look at some of the coziest games that I personally enjoy. Now, if you're thinking this is kind of a weird one to start off with, who do you think you are? No, you're definitely right. While Wii Sports Resort tends to focus on, well, sports, competition, and high scores, there's just something so relaxing about the atmosphere and setting of this game that kind of exists in spite of all of that stuff, providing hours of relaxing fun while still also being able to provide something for the competitive crowd. Here's an example. In the air sports section, we have a couple game modes, dogfight and flyover. Dogfight is a skill-based versus mode where two players control separate airplanes and try to shoot the balloons off the back of the opposing player's plane. Not much relaxing to be done there. It's fun, sure, but in a tense way, in the way of a fighting game or a shooting game. You're actively competing against someone else, trying to take them down before they get you, and if you don't get them, you lose. That's not really cozy at all. But if you look on the flip side of this, the other game mode, Island Flyover, is super cozy. You get 5 whole minutes of me time to fly over Woohoo Island, and let's be honest, we all wish we could do this in real life. Either just exploring or collecting location markers of all the different landmarks scattered around the island. There's no real objective other than have fun exploring, but the plane is fun to control and the island is satisfying to explore, and you can even choose the time of day to explore in. It doesn't get much cozier than this. You get freedom from any real objectives, the fun of flying and being in a plane, and the interesting environment in which to do it all. I could spend a lot more time on Wii Sports Resort, but honestly, with the level of cozy we reached with Island Flyover, I think it's time to get some other games some much-deserved attention. Now, if you told me that there was a 16-bit indie RPG that focused on a lone hero and his journey to defeat his enemy and earn his father's approval, I probably wouldn't jump to the conclusion that the game would be based around the game of golf. However, this does nothing to downplay Golf Story's overall greatness as a fun, fast-paced, funny, and well-balanced package. Golf games aren't necessarily the coziest games out there, but there is a level of ease to them over other sports games. Golf games typically give you as much time as you need or want to line up your shot, plan your route, and think about other factors like wind or your opponent's ability. That freedom of choice, the beauty of the golf courses, and the retro aesthetic of Golf Story all add up to this game being one of the coziest that I've played on the Switch. And while it may not be the best or most competitive golf video game, it can still put up a fun time if you want to go head-to-head with another golf gamer. Golf Story has some unique elements to the multiplayer too, like the giant hole mode, or some other things that can make for a wackier time than your average PGA Tour game. Heck, even outside of just playing golf, the levels and environments are still fun to explore. You can find some really cool stuff like disc golf and other challenges to do, and almost every NPC has something funny or stupid to say, so you can entertain yourself for a while with this small, cozy gem. So the first two games I've mentioned have a certain coziness that I think everyone can recognize, even non-gamers, people on the outside of our hobby. But what about when a game is cozy to you just because of your level of familiarity or just straight up nostalgia for the game? Super Mario Bros. Is that for me. I have played this game for countless hours, and while it's not an incredibly challenging platformer, I wouldn't say it's easy. I also wouldn't say that it has any of the same elements that make those first two games cozy either. Rather, for me, the coziness factor comes from the fact that I know this game so well, have spent so many hours enjoying it, and it's one I can hop into anytime and have a blast playing. It's just so fun to control, it has great design, beautiful music, and I think I would say that it also holds up as one of Nintendo's best Mario games ever. Quite possibly the coziest game on the N64 is Yoshi's Story. Now, I didn't pick this one up until a good friend of mine sold me his N64 and a batch of some of the best games of all time. Thanks, Bry Baby. And I was a little shocked that I had let this game fly under my radar. It's super accessible now, available on the Nintendo Switch online service, and is worth your time if you're looking for an easy, vibrant, fun, and sort of different Yoshi game. Nice music, great graphics for the time, just enjoyable to look at, listen to, and experience. It can be really hard to talk about Skyrim without repeating what others have already said 100 times before, so let me just tell you a quick story. Back in November of 2011, my brother and my best friend and I were geared up for the midnight release of Skyrim. We'd set up my bedroom with 3 consoles and 3 TVs, had our games pre-ordered, and had the pizza, Mountain Dew, and Doritos ready to go. They got to GameStop a few hours before midnight, and I joined them a little bit later on. As soon as the clock struck midnight, the GameStop workers behind the counter began frisbeeing out copies of the game to all those that had presented their paid-off pre-order ticket stubs. As the dozens of copies of Skyrim flew through the air around me, everything seemed to go into slow motion, and I realized I was witnessing part of gaming history. I was super excited to experience it with my brother and my best friend. We caught our flying games, piled into my car, and sped back to my house, popped our games in our separate consoles, and played from about 12:30 in the morning until the sun was blinding us and we all passed out from exhaustion. I'd been battling orcs and evil sorcerers with my longsword. My brother had been sneaking, pickpocketing, and sniping foes with his trusty bow and arrow, and my best friend had spent the last 5 hours trying to figure out how to salvage his storyline since he'd unintentionally become a vampire after achieving a bunch of level ups, gold, and other precious resources that he just couldn't stand to lose via game restart. As you all know, that was more than 10 years ago, but I still remember it all so clearly and so fondly. That's a childhood memory with my brother and my best friend that I'll treasure forever. And whether or not the game itself is cozy, which I think it definitely can be, I think the good, great, and best memories that we have with games are a type of coziness, nostalgia possibly, in themselves. Maybe the real cozy was the gaming memories we made along the way. So I hope you have a nice cozy game to snuggle up with by the fire, drinking a nice hot cup of your drink of choice. But if the game starts getting too serious, just politely let it know that you're not ready for a relationship right now. Put it back in its case and move on. Wait, my notes got mixed up. Hold on. Don't let yourself get to a point where the game isn't cozy anymore. These games are all about relaxing, unwinding, clearing your head, and just enjoying your time with them. Before you go, do me a favor. Let me know what your favorite cozy games are, or your favorite gaming memories are. Whether it's a specific couple of games, some time you had with them, or with friends or family, I would love to hear your story. I'll catch you later, folks.